while Chicago Sky coach Teresa Weatherspoon said that she doesn't feel the Chicago Sky are in a rebuild, the actions show very different, as the Chicago Sky have now traded Rebekah Gardner as well for picks. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
Welcome to Chicago Sky Central, and here's your host, Haize.
What's going on, Sky fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Sky Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Sky related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chicago Sky Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go and get into this content. So we got an update, another trade by the Chicago Sky. Now, we talked a little bit a while ago when Rebekah Gardner tore her right Achilles, unfortunately, which is putting her out for the rest of the entire 2025-24 season, year ahead. Well, the Chicago Sky, who were already in talks with teams trying to acquire Rebekah Gardner when she was a restricted free agent, has now removed Rebekah Gardner for two future second round picks. Now, this is a 2025 and a 2026 second round pick, so nothing that the Sky are getting in this year. But the Sky continue to accumulate draft picks. This is now the third and fourth draft picks that the Chicago Sky have required this offseason. So the Sky are making moves, right? We know this now, that the Sky are going into at least a mini rebuild or retool, depending on the talent that they do get in this upcoming draft. But it's clear now that the Sky are in a rebuild. They are now sending off most of their assets. And, while I do love Rebekah Gardner, I think we all acknowledge what Rebekah Gardner brought to this team, coming in, another, James Wade signing, coming in as a 30-year-old rookie, coming in and just giving a lot to the Chicago Sky in that first year. Second season gets lost with partially with injury. And now her third season, she's going to already be down, unfortunately, because of injury. But this is a player who she's fought to get her way into the WNBA. She's not, unaccustomed to fighting for her role and for her spot to show that she belongs. And, she's going to battle back from the injury. But now her rights are owned by the New York Liberty, another super team in a lot of ways that could absolutely need her defensive and offensive versatility coming off that bench. And, we'll see when she's able to make her return. But, the Sky lose another member now of their team who, like I said, James Wade brought Rebekah Gardner in ahead of the 2022 season. He scouted her overseas, brought her over. She averaged 8.4 points per game, 3.3 rebounds, and 1.4 steals coming off the bench for the Chicago Sky. She broke her left foot last season, only 3 games into the season, and unfortunately lost her season. She's going to be out this year as well. So, like I said, unfortunate, but it's clear now that after trading away Kahleah Copper, that the Chicago Sky GM has completely shifted his focus from, building a roster around the former MVP to now rebuilding with a totally younger core. And considering the age of Rebekah Gardner, considering she never signed her qualifying offer from the Sky either, the Liberty are acquiring her rights, her player rights, so they'll have the first, dibs to sign her whenever she does. And so now when you look at it, Chicago Sky's roster sits at at 9 with more room under the salary cap. So we've brought in a couple of players, things like this, but we already have the number 3 and the number 8 pick in this upcoming draft, with Chicago Sky could absolutely to rebuild on the fly and really retool that roster. Especially looking at, Cameron Brink officially now entering that WNBA draft. Could the Sky try to move up? I don't really think that's something that's going to happen, but there's still tons of talent at both those draft picks that Chicago Sky could absolutely look to bring in to this team to contribute towards their rebuild. They have the number 3, the number 8 pick. They also have the first pick in the second round as well. That's going to be number 13. So the Sky are going to have a lot of bites at the apple to try to really retool that team with a lot of young talent, young promising talent that could pay big parts of the future for the Chicago Sky. So you got to love that aspect of it. But as this picture continues to get a little bit more clear for the Sky, all eyes are going to be on what do the Sky do at the WNBA draft. They have a lot of assets ahead of them. They can do a lot of crazy things at the draft, but it seems like it's all but a foregone conclusion that the Chicago Sky are going to be considerably younger, and we're going to be in the midst of a rebuild. And how quick that rebuild goes through, that depends on who the Chicago Sky draft, how quick their development hits, and who they get and how WNBA ready they are right away. But I would not be surprised at all if the Sky have one of those teams that are looking much better. And don't get me wrong, even though we're going younger, we still have some really good pieces on this team now. I don't know if they're going to get creative and try to move some of those pieces. We know we got Marina Mabry, who's 27 years old, still on the team. We got Dana Evans, 25, who can definitely fit a rebuild. Trinity Carter, who we've also brought in. Diamond DeShields, 29 years old, right? But we got a lot of players that have some promise on this team and a nice mix of veterans as well to help guide that youth. When you look at Isabel Harrison, Elizabeth Williams, both 30-year-old players who still have a ton of basketball ahead of them and could really be big parts of guiding any type of youth movement that the Chicago Sky have. But let me know what you guys think now. Hearing this now that the Chicago Sky have acquired a 2025 and 2026 second-round pick for a player that they scouted and brought in. That's a hell of a haul for a player that, has played only one in a partial season in the WNBA, is going to miss the total of the 2024 season, and we'll see. But really solid picks there. She's going to go to the New York Liberty. They're going to have her rights, and that could be a really good player for them as they look, even though it's not going to be for another season now, as they look to continue to flesh out that roster and continue adding talent. But let me know what you guys think as always down below. Make sure you're following the show at Chicago Sky Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoSkyCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Sky related. And I'll see you guys the next time we go to Skytown. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.